Being outside is good for us. It's that simple. And trails make it easy for us to walk, bike, and be active outside in our own backyards. On the trail, we see people moving, connecting with their communities, making the places where they live great. For 40 years, Rails to Trails Conservancy has led the way, creating trails across the country, making it safer and easier for everyone to get outside. They want you to get involved. Find your trail and start your journey today at railstotrails.org/iHeart and follow at Rails to Trails on social.
Hey guys, welcome to You the Boss podcast, episode 21. I'm your host, Pam. This week we're going to be talking with Cindy from Sublime Financial Freedom. Cindy has a full-time career in finance, and on the side, she is a money mindset and manifestation coach. She supports women who are struggling with money and helps them attract, life-changing cash and things like that. I had a really good time speaking with Cindy and just bringing forward a lot of what we talk about here at You the Boss, with mindset and manifesting and also putting in the work. I'm really excited for you guys to listen to this episode and just start to put into practice some of those things. Definitely check out the show notes as I've put her Instagram handle on there, Sublime Financial Freedom. And make sure you give her a follow and make sure you give her some feedback as well as You the Boss Pod on Instagram. And I hope you guys enjoy this episode.
Got it.
Hi, Cindy. Welcome to You the Boss Podcast.
Hi, Pam. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
We're so happy to have you here. So I have the let's dive right in style. We know your name is Cindy. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Cindy, for those who don't know me, and I'm the owner of Sublime Financial Freedom. That's where I help women who are struggling with their finances attract life-changing cash, attract that financial freedom. Whatever financial freedom means for them, I help them attract it. And we do that by a couple of ways. Removing limiting beliefs about money, just money blocks. Mostly those come in a mental format, so I help them discover and eliminate those limiting beliefs about money. I also teach money manifestation and how we're all meant to manifest differently and trying to get behind the misconceptions of money manifestation and what manifestation really is. And we also do a lot of embodiment work where we take aligned action. And I love the word aligned because it's, all action is not created equal.
Right.
So we definitely do a lot of embodiment work, becoming the identity of the person that you want to become. So that's what I do in my business, Sublime Financial Freedom. I coach women. A little bit of history about myself. I'm an immigrant from the Dominican Republic, and I'm a first. Yes, mi gente.
Yes,
paisana for real. But I'm a first generation American. Also, I moved when I came from the Dominican Republic, I moved to a very low income, high crime part of northern New Jersey. And, growing up, my family and I, we were on welfare. We were surrounded just by scarcity, victim mentality everywhere you look. And it all centered around money. So I wanted to learn everything that I could about money because there were so many misconceptions about it. Growing up in this low income city, we there was no financial literacy. Like, what was money really? And I'm pretty sure you're very familiar with that. So I dedicated my life to learning everything I could about money, and went to college. I'm a first generation college student too.
That's awesome.
I paid off. Yeah, it was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of pressure to get that done, but I did it. I was able to pay off my debt, once I graduated college. And at that point I thought I'd made it, since I had a great job after college and whatnot. But the problem was that I was still struggling with money. I was still living paycheck to paycheck. Even after I got that well-paying job, I had a spending addiction. I had this like fear. I had generalized anxiety disorder, and I was addicted to my anxiety pills. And it all stemmed around money and the pressure to not just get it, but keep it. And in that kind of energy, money doesn't stick around. It
Right.
doesn't stick around long.
Right. Wow. So I knew some of this because we did used to work together. That's kind of how we met. Not kind of, that is how we met. But some of that I didn't know. Like I remember when we worked together, I think you were in college for finance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then that's Benji.
I love it.
Benji's coming in for another episode, guys. But yes, I remember you were in school for finance. So in that sense, it was kind of like you had opened the door to, I'm going to say working with money, but it isn't necessarily with money, I guess. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. But tell me more about how did you kind of get into what you do? Like you got into you kind of explained like where you came from. I think first generation, anyone listening to this can really like fully understand that some of that limiting money mindset. But other than outside of that, like why did you start doing what was the moment is kind of what I'm asking. Like what was the moment that you realized that you were like, yeah, I don't traditionally want to work in finance per se, or how did you get kind of towards where you are now?
So I was a hot mess around that time.
Welcome to the Express.
Yes, the hot mess express, girl. You know what I'm talking about. But it was, it just moving on from, graduating college. I want to say it was 2012. I graduated college. I moved to another state. So I moved to Pennsylvania on my own, like right after college.
That. Yeah.
That's why I left, where we were working together. So I also, in that same process, I don't know if you might have known this, but I was also going through a divorce. So
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. So I just got out of a divorce that was finalized, and I decided to move to Pennsylvania on my own just for this, this nice job. I was very fortunate in getting this job in investing. So, and that was in Pennsylvania. So of course I took it and I thought, okay, I'm going to start my life over again. But I still had the anxiety disorder. I still, was living paycheck to paycheck, even with a great new job that paid me so well. I didn't have a dime saved, even though my job was in investing, right? So I wasn't practicing what I was preaching. And I had all this knowledge. I knew everything. I knew all the strategies about finances. I knew how to invest. I knew the terminology. So you think that, I'd be set financially. I've had this financial freedom, but that wasn't the case. I was still falling back on, the scarcity mindset and why and woe is me and the big mentality. So I wasn't getting any better, my health wise. I was still struggling with anxiety, and other things started popping up. And I started adding mindset and spirituality into my life. So it was during that time I did a lot of inner work. I learned about manifestation, and I thought, hey, maybe this can benefit my money journey too. And it was just that one time where I was alone in my bedroom all by myself in like my own apartment in Pennsylvania, that I thought, okay, something needs to change. Something needs to change. It's not the strategies. I have all that. Why am I not doing the thing? So after I started doing these like practices and techniques and meditations and manifestations and changing my mindset and realizing why I think the way I think about money, I began to see these huge shifts in my life, like almost immediately. Like my anxiety was gone. I was able to get off my anti-anxiety meds, which I was like addicted to for a while. I started saving 60% of my income, and not in a way that was depriving or anything. Not like those crazy budgets.
Like frugal. Yeah.
Yeah, not at all. Like my mind, like I started thinking differently of what was important for me. Instead of spending recklessly, I started being more mindful. Like, okay, this item here, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna set an intention because this brings me joy. I'm like holding a crystal up. like, like
Yeah.
this bring me so much joy, and this is why I'm buying the product. And after I saw the shift, I manifested a husband eventually. Like I
Amazing.
started seeing that this stuff works. So now I'm just teaching other women how to change their mindset and focus on, removing those limiting beliefs and just attracting that money because I've been through it and I know it works.
That first of all, that's amazing because I always like on the husband kick. A lot of I've had people around me say like you're so lucky, like not everyone is as lucky as you, and I'm like, wait a second. I literally got out of a bad relationship and wrote on a piece of paper the qualities that I wanted of my husband, and then I carried it in my wallet. And I literally was like, the next man I date is my husband. I don't want to hear it. And I literally like I remember me and my husband had met, and we were like in the talking phase and all that kind of stuff, and we were like 7 or 8 months down the line, and I was like, the next man I date is my husband, so if this ain't him, it ain't him, like I don't know. And obviously that's different from the way that you manifested your husband. But I think they're in the same kind of field of that, but also I really like what you said, where you said you changed your mindset. Um, Here on You the Boss, that's a big thing where it's like, however, whatever it is that you're struggling with, like show up with the mentality that you have to change your mindset. Cause like if let's say for example, you have a pile of garbage in your living room, right? And you have a small house, so like the whole house stinks because of this pile of garbage. And let's say you get a 7 room mansion, you, I don't know, you get this bigger house, and then you bring that pile of garbage with you. That's your mindset. So you still kind of bring the garbage. And I think that's so important. So how do you help women? Like are you connected to a network? Is it something that you just connect with people reach out to you? Like I know you have a following on Instagram, even though like I say following, but to some people that means like tens of thousands of followers. But you're not someone who just showed up on Instagram. So how do you connect with women to kind of help them in wherever they are in this?
Yeah, of course. Well, my biggest thing is just to serve the community. That's my number one thing. So I do my best. I'm mostly on Instagram. So you're right. So that's where I share most of my information. That's why I get most of my breakthroughs and downloads, and I just channel it straight to whoever is listening. So that's my number one thing. I give freebies once in a while. But to help women, I also do one-on-one coaching. I just opened up my 6-week
Yeah, I saw
money
that.
mindset one-on-one coaching. So I work with women that way, and women just reach out to me if they feel called to work with me, if they resonate with my message and what I'm saying and how I'm teaching something. They just reach out to me and fill out the application because my coaching program is by application only. I only take about 3 people at a time, 3 women at a time. So we can work with each other that way. And yeah, that's really how if you want some additional specific one-on-one work, I'm more than happy to support whoever comes in if you feel called to.
Of course, yeah. So I'll definitely get information from you for that because I do want to link that in the show notes. Um I think it's so important, and I don't like it to be a gender thing all the time, but like we are women, right? So my experience in anything is coming as a woman and then the experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's so great that yes, you've made the choice to work in the community, but also to say it doesn't matter um where you are in your space, but as a woman, like you feel called to do that. Um so I'll definitely be putting that in the show notes. what has been your experience in this? Like, I'm assuming you do this full time. This is what you do,
Well, yeah,
unless you work.
I do. I still have a career in finance, which I love what I do. I absolutely I'm still working through my finance career, and I absolutely love what I do. But I
Which is
also
hard
serve the
in finance.
community. It is, yeah. But the thing is, with if we're heavy in finance, this is a very male dominated career
Mm-hmm.
where, mindset, you really don't hear a lot of stuff about mindset. So, what I do with my money manifestation and money mindset coaching, that sort of balances out all the heavy finance things that I do throughout the day. And I also have the coaching on the side where I help women filling the gaps because, to be honest with you, getting the strategies is easy. Everyone will tell you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone will tell you what to
Yeah.
do, but the mindset, you don't hear a lot about that.
Yeah, that's very true. I think it's so I think that's so important again. I know that I said this already, but mindset is really everything. Like you like yeah, you can give me the instructions, right? Like anyone can build a cabinet. If you give me the instructions, you give me the screws, like all I really need is a hammer and a screwdriver, right? Like it's really
Mm-hmm.
not but you could still use the wrong screws. You could still be screwing, like unscrewing it while you're trying to screw it in. So like you can still run into those issues. So the mindset is definitely something very visible. And I really appreciate you saying like, yeah, I still work during the day in finance because another thing that I feel has been a big impact on social media, especially in the pandemic, is feeling like, oh, well, like she's killing it. And like, she doesn't get it because she's not working full time. And it's like, yeah, no, actually I am. I am working full time and I am putting this part of myself out there. So how do you balance that? Like I'm sure your career is demanding.
Mm.
You have a husband. I know you have a life. Like it's not like you're a robot. So how do you balance that? Like how do you stay grounded, or like what helps you kind of stay in that and in a happy mode with what you do?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And I do a lot. I'm a super planner through and
I love
through.
it.
Like I think I have a borderline obsession with journals and pens. Like that's my thing. So I'm always with a journal, I'm always with a planner. I'm always writing something because my I there's a lot of things that go through my head. I don't know if you're into astrology, but I'm like a triple air sign. So I am all over the place,
I don't
right?
know what it
Of
means to
air.
be an air sign, but I know that does, like, if you're a triple anything, it usually means like you're very like
Concentrated in that area.
right.
Yeah. So the air is just like flowing all over the place. So I need to get everything that's in my head on paper somehow. I need to get it out of my head and physically see it on paper. So I do a lot of lists every day. I have my planner. I check off everything. I don't like to have a to-do list because it feels so restricting for me. I like to call it a manifestation list. Things that are
Okay.
happening, things I'm going to be completing that day. So I also stay organized with my phone calendar. If it's not on my phone calendar, it's not.
Might not happen.
It's just too much.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of things I do to stay grounded. I have, a very flexible, very fluid spiritual practice. I like incorporating crystals into my day. Like if I'm feeling a little bit stressed out, I have like a certain crystal that kind of like a worry stone where I could like, okay, I'm feeling a little stressed out because it happens. It
Yeah.
happens to the best of us. And no matter how, even if you have this anxiety that comes up or this fear that you thought you took care of it already, it's always going to come back. But the thing is, when it comes back, you'll know how to deal with it.
Right. Right. So I have to say the planner, like I am so about my planner that I start thinking about my planner for next year at the beginning of December, where I'm like, what am I carrying with me through the year? Because I used to be okay with buying a planner in June. Like, you know how they put out a school planner. So the planner goes from
Yeah.
like September to August kind of thing. I
Yeah.
used to be okay with that. I'm not okay with that anymore. I need a January to December calendar.
Mm.
So at the beginning of December, I start like, they put sales out there. So I start like looking like what's on sale. Like what do I feel for next year? What do I like for next year?
Mm.
I usually stray to the same kind of calendar, but the point is my physical calendar and my digital calendar on my phone, they're usually like neck and neck. If it's
Yeah.
not in one of them, there's a possibility that I might forget it. Like if it's not in both, because like when I physically see it, I'm like, okay. But sometimes, let's just be honest, technology is a big monster, but it does help being like, hey, reminder, you have this going on next week, just so you know, because you start making plans for things. And if you forget, it helps you kind of do that. So love that. Totally relatable. I do want to bring up as far as like how you felt um after you said you had anxiety or you have anxiety, and I don't want to miss say that,
Mm.
um but you've grabbed it, like you have anxiety or had anxiety didn't have you. And
Mm.
how does that come up as far as in your career or whenever you sit down with women? Because I'm sure anxiety, unfortunately, is also like a trendy word right now. So people are like, oh my gosh, it's giving me anxiety. Which is a lot of it is self-diagnosed, I feel.
Mm. Mm.
Um, so how has that come up in your conversations with women?
It can go in absolutely any direction, and everyone has anxiety to some
Yeah.
degree.
Yep.
And the most important thing, and this is how I got over my generalized anxiety disorder at its worst, was figuring out and asking myself these very deep soul searching questions like, okay, why am I feeling this way? Where did this come from? Is it because of something that I believe in, some expectations that I'm not living up to? Where did this belief, where did this pressure come from? Is it something that I thought that I would believe all my life? Is it something that came from somebody else? Because when you grow up, when you're very young, you start adopting the mindsets and the habits. It starts off with the mindset, which leads to the habits of the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
From the ages of 0 to 7, you're pretty much a walking sponge. You just accept things that
Absorb.
they are. Exactly. So if mom has anxiety about something, let's say she has anxiety about money, you're going to start adopting that too, because you look up to your parents and you know that in order for you to belong and in order for you to stay alive, you have to adopt what they're doing, because there must be, in your mind as a child, they must be doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
So, looking into going way back into your timeline, figuring out, okay, what is it? What is causing my anxiety? Because anxiety, it could be about anything. Women come to me and they're like, yeah, I have anxiety about money. And I tell them, okay, are you sure it's about money? Because most of the time, to be honest with you, Pam, it can disguise itself as an issue with money, for example, but it could be something else. It could be self-worth issue. It
Mm.
could be, it could be it could be absolutely anything. So the main thing that I like to talk about is discover what is the belief that's causing the anxiety? Where did it come from? And do you still want to believe in that? Because you have the choice to not believe in that anymore.
That that is so powerful for you to say you have the choice. Obviously it's not invalidating, any chemical imbalances and things like that. Like that's not definitely
Mm.
the effect on that. But it is important to say, like, at some point though, it is a choice. Like if you're at least at a point of being of sound mind, you do have a choice. You do choose, to either continue the beliefs that you were brought up with and, just spend the rest of your life saying, my dad taught me and my mom taught me. And then saying like they did their best. And then I kind of took control. And I think that's so important to really say, because especially when it comes to money, you know, like I can tell you my experience of saying like we had a similar upbringing. You know, my household by the time I was born was a one income household because my mom stayed at home to take care of me. My parents made the decision that they didn't want to send me to a babysitter. They had four boys before me, and they said, you know, we're not going to do that to her. One of us has to stay home. So we were a one income household. We didn't have a lot of help from anything. So there were things, you know, there was the saying for Dominicans, like, well, I'm not going to drink this weekend. My father wasn't a heavy drinker, but he'd be like, I'm not going to drink this weekend to make sure we can buy her some new sneakers, like that kind of mentality. And so growing up in that space, you know, it's my parents did their best with what they had, you know, so it's not me saying like, oh, I'm gonna hold them accountable and whatever. Like, yes, but also at the same time, like at some point, it's on me. At some point, it is my decision to say, okay, I didn't know this before. I made it this far without that, but now I need to, you know, get that information and help myself because life is so short. It's so short to be dependent on those different crutches of like, well, that's what I learned about money, or that's my anxiety with money. And it's like, do you have anxiety or does anxiety have you? That's kind of you have to make that choice, you know? And I do have to ask because this is such I'm not going to say heavy because it sounds like a bad word, but it is a very charged topic. So what keeps you like going in this and in this in this mindset specifically, since we're talking about mindset, in this mindset of still continuing in your career but also still taking your time, which I'm sure you could do a gajillion other things, still taking your time to just connect with other women and help them, because that's what you're doing, right? You're helping them and helping them in their space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question because and just this ties beautifully with what you were just talking about, how you remember where you came from. You remember the lessons that those before you showed you, even if they're not serving you anymore. They were serving you at one point. They may have been serving you at one point. They may have been serving your parents at one point because you learned it from them, because they were just doing their best with what they
Mm-hmm.
had available. And it's the intention. You know, there's this thing in my training. I'm also a neuro linguistic a programming practitioner, and one of the things that we learn there is that whatever happens, whatever, even if it's like the crappiest thing and the crappiest mindset, there is always a positive intention behind it when it was first formed. So, you know, a lot of us are like, okay, woe is me. I have this background of, you know, the scarcity mindset and being on welfare and all that stuff. Like, no, that stuff was there for a reason, and it taught you some very, very important lessons. So that's definitely something very important to recognize. But, you know, going along with that, something that keeps me going is, and this might just be it. I mean, this could be for anyone, but for me, it's like an older child immigrant syndrome where, and I genuinely want to give back to my family and in
Mm.
my community, and to show my parents that our sacrifices and coming to this country with nothing um, was worth it. And giving back to the women who can't even, you know, the women who can't even look at their bank accounts because it makes them feel so like insecure. It makes them feel almost like a failure sometimes. I'm here for those women because I've been there and I know how that feels. So knowing that I have the power to share my knowledge and can free so many people from these mental chains, because they're chains just
Yeah.
holding you, just keeping you back from, you know, from your dream life basically. And it's an energy. And so the more women that define these expectations that were put upon them, the better we're going to be in the end. That's what keeps me
Wow.
going.
I I just love this so much. I love this mindset of like, yes, you know, I can totally relate to that. I was born here, but I'm first generation. And it's like it's amazing to me because I have three older brothers that they're significantly older than me. There's anywhere between a 23 to a 30-year gap between my three older brothers.
Mhm.
So like my second oldest brother, he went to college, but he went to college before I was born. So I didn't see any of that journey. I didn't see him applying to college, the finances to go to college. I didn't see any of that. So when I came to that age of deciding to go to college, of the finances to go to college, of learning the different mindsets of being a first generation, you know, it was me and whatever I could translate, right? Like whatever it was. And that's so relatable to say, like, yeah, the thing that keeps me going is like, yes, of course I want to help the community. Yes, of course I want to give back to women who were in a position I was once in. Like you feel called to that, but also to say like, yeah, but I also want to make sure that I honor this sacrifice of flying here or however they got here and coming into a completely different culture, because it's a culture shock. Like I don't care how you have to get it done, but in my opinion, if you can in any way, shape, or form uproot yourself and go somewhere for a week and like have to deal with a completely different language, do little to no research, like to go there, I think that's so real to do, because it'll really give you, even if it's a 1% of a view of what people go through when they come from a different country. Because you come here, you don't only come here now with your own culture, right? You come here with the mindset of what's going on around you. So now it's like you're taking ketchup and mayonnaise, right? And you're introducing it to fries. And like you're doing it because, you know, mayo cachu, for those of you who are familiar with the concept. um, but you go to take your ketchup and your mayonnaise and you mix it with your fries, and then you go, let's say you go home, you go to DR and do it, and in the campo, they're like, what are you doing? What are French fries? That's American food, you know? So it's really so interesting to like internalize that and be like, I have to honor my parents, and also like in what they gave me, honor myself, right? Like I'm honoring who they've helped me become and what I've done with what they've given me. So moving along a little bit, what's something that you would you would like for anyone getting into this field, or anyone that is listening to this episode, that you would want them to get out of kind of what we've been talking about, when it comes to money, when it comes to finances, when it comes to the mindset? What's something that you would, it could be three things, it could be one thing, like what's something that you would want someone listening to this to get out of?
Mm-hmm. Well, the number one thing, of course, is be very mindful of what comes up when, of course, my main subject is money. Be very mindful what comes up when you think about money and when you think about the mindset around money, and really look into it. Ask yourself those deep questions. And one and something that's just coming up for me now actually is there's going into the topic, which is a little bit separate, because and this came up when, coming to this country, and there's a lot of competition. It just feels like money is something that's just so scarce. That's the first thing that comes up for me, and a lot of people really, especially recently, that it's just a scarcity. I just want to let you know that there is more than enough room for everybody.
Yeah.
I like we grew up in a time where competing, everyone else is in the same field that you want to go into, and everybody else is taking your jobs, but
Mm-hmm.
there's more than enough jobs, there's more than enough clients, there's more than enough money to go around. And even if the market is oversaturated with people doing exactly what you want to do, it's not. I feel like that's an illusion, and there is many ways of doing the same thing. You have your own unique footprint, and someone is going to resonate with exactly what you're doing and how you're doing it. So don't let the thought of competition keep you from doing exactly what you love and standing up for what's important for you.
You know, that's so great to hear. As far as I always use the example of social media, because that's like the thing that most people understand right now.
Mm.
And it's like let's say, for example, you're doing beauty reviews on different like natural skincare products, for example. And you're like, well, like so many people are beauty bloggers, so many people are doing this already. Like the algorithm, how am I going to get into this? I'm not going to be able. And then like you talk yourself out of it. And I think it's the same thing like you mentioned, like personally, I remember being in the 6th grade and I had a great 6th grade teacher because I remember her and the different things she taught us. But I remember her being like, you're from Passaic, so you should start working on your resume now because you're going to submit for things and they're going to see where you're from and they're not going to give you a second look.
Wow.
And I know that her intentions were not to say we were any less. I know her intention was to say, you have to work twice as hard. And while I believe some of that, I believe that that wasn't a false thing to say. For someone who's 10 and 11 years old to hear you could probably be showing up to this situation and not be worthy because of where you're from is so impactful. It's so real to say. And then you get to college, right? Like now you got out of high school. That's like a thing, whether we want to admit it or not, coming from an urban area, getting out of high school is like a big thing. Sure. And then you go to college and you're mixing with all different types of people and you're in college and now they're giving you a resume class and they're like, you have to compete for jobs. So now at this point, by the time we get out of college, we're 23, 24 years old. We think everything is a competition. So then it comes down to you're making money. And now you're like, I need to make more money than that person. Because that's, like you said, that's tied to that self-worth of, oh, I'm going to be worth more because I make more money. Like as I make more money, I'll be able to invest. And like some of that, can be true. But it still comes back down to that 6th grade, 10 or 11-year-old of being like, yeah, I have to do this because I'm not worthy. So now you're trying to penetrate in different industries and all this thing because you think that chasing that next thing is going to give you that value. And it's like, no, there's space for everyone.
Exactly. And I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
Really, are you chasing something that's really yours, something that's an identity that you want to embody, or are you chasing an identity of what somebody else expects you to do?
Right. Or even tying that to social media, are you chasing what you think someone else is achieving? It's so easy to see, again, someone on Instagram, doing beauty reviews and they have all these followers. It's so easy for you to think they must be making so much money. And like the backstory is they only get paid, like if they post 10 times a week, they only get paid for 2 of those. The other 8, the only thing they get is the free product. They don't get paid from the company. The company just sends them money and say, you need to post this 8 times because we sent you these free products, So it's like, we need to be so aware of that like that mindset of like, oh, I'm not going to make it there, or, there's not enough money for yes, there is definitely, if it's been put into your mind to do something, it means that it's something that you're called to do. It means that that's for you. And even if that thing turns into a door to like your life, like in my opinion, kind of us talking today, you saying that you went to college for finance, it's like, yeah, that's your career and it's not to take away from the hard work that you put there, but that's also just opened up this other part of you that's become such a major part of you,
Exactly.
So here's a question to kind of put out there. What's next for what you want to do? Do you see yourself working in finance long term? Do you see yourself maybe stepping back and doing that part-time and still continuing to help the different parts of the community and the world that you're already touching? Like, what does Cindy want to do with all this knowledge? Because I feel like even through like the screen on Zoom, I'm like, I can feel you have like so much energy of like things that I don't even know about yet, like things that you want to share.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can explode right now. But in the interest of time, in the interest of time, there's just so much. My main thing, and this is really, especially, during the pandemic, we all went inside ourselves and did some deep soul searching. And what I realized is I absolutely love what I do. And, the intentions why I got into the whole finance field in the first place were so that I can help people in whatever area of their lives I want to help people. And I do see myself staying in my finance career for a while, but also focusing more and more on helping the women with their mindset, because I feel like that is more important than the strategies I teach in my finance career day to day. You have to do that first. You have to work on your identity first before you can actually make the big bucks. And if not, then these strategies, you can start throwing spaghetti at the wall with all these different strategies and get overwhelmed and not accomplish anything. So that's my main focus, is I'm still staying with my finance career, but also really focusing on helping women. There's just so many things in the works right now. I more to come on that, but
Yeah.
I definitely want to start helping more and more women with courses in the future, and hopefully meeting women when the situation gets a little better, meeting women in person. There's just so much that I want to give to the world, and learn, and just this constant learning. I mentioned before, I'm a neuro linguistic programming practitioner. I'm going for the master program for that, which is the study
Wow.
of the mind. There's a lot of programs that I really want to get into, just so that I can combine everything that I learn and help women even further than that.
That's so amazing. Like a lot of a lot of the reason that I got into doing this podcast is very similar to that. Is, they're in the business world or even in the podcast world, it is very male dominated. It's very like, I mean, I don't need to say anything further than that. And so I just thought, like, I don't see anyone that looks like me or even has my experience. And so why not? This came to me during the pandemic. Like I had toyed around with like, oh, I can make a YouTube channel like years ago when that was like even though it still is, but when that was like a thing, a starting thing. And now hearing you even further express that, like, you're going for your master's, which I think is amazing because I can't even imagine going to college right now, like just going to structured. I've been out of college like 8 years this April, and I'm like, I can't, I mean, I'm sure that it's changed. So I can't even imagine like working, doing this, doing my business, and in addition to, so that definitely a lot of props to you on that. And I just think it's so great that you've taken what you could have very easily been like, oh, I'm in a meaningless job and I'm just going to take the rest of my time to, enjoy life. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with going to work and coming home and just basically self-serving. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, obviously, those people are some of the best people, but some of us, that's not our story. Some of us, it's, yeah, I'm going to go to work and like that's going to fund all the other dreams and goals and what I want to put into the world. And I think it's so great that you've found that, and that you are not only that you've found it, but that you're doing it. And it's not even like a situation where like, not that you're not established. That's not what I'm saying. You are established, but you're still taking the time in your life to continue to learn so that you have more to put out. I think that's so beautiful. And if no one's ever told you that, you need to know it, because I see, it's so easy to see on TV or even in some of the mindset books or podcasts. You hear a lot of, people being frugal and saying like, don't buy coffee, don't buy the Starbucks coffee because that's the reason that you're not a millionaire. And it's like, I don't know if that's right. And I used to be one of those people. I'm not going to mention it, but I read this book, which was about, budgeting and a lot of things like that. And it was a great start to budgeting and to kind of some of the strategies that I still use today. But the mindset of the frugality of it is kind of like, that's not realistic for the real average person.
Yes, exactly.
So kind of winding down a little bit, I'm going to put, all the information I can about you in the show notes. I so want to share this. I so want people listening to this to look you up, to reach out to you, to just be connected to you, because I think it's so cool that I've known you since 2011.
Oh, it's been 10 years, over 10
Yeah.
years, not to call each other out or anything, but it's been 10
You
years,
still look
girl.
the way you did when I met you
So do you,
12 years
doll.
ago or 10
So do
years ago.
you.
um and knowing you all this time, what's one thing that, because I can say this, like, what's one thing that you can take away from the person you were 10 years ago and the person that you are now, that you'll be able to take with you to your future selves? And you can take a few minutes, because this just a random, it came to me question.
So the person that I was 10 years ago, someone completely different. My goodness, who is she anymore?
That's so great. I love that. I love being able to be like, yeah, I don't know who she is anymore.
Really? And there was, oh my goodness, just looking back, I would, even if I was just to talk to her right now, like that person of myself, that version of myself, and just knowing that no matter, and this is for anything, for anybody, I'm just going to say a general fact, but no matter where you come from, you can become whoever and whatever you want without shame or guilt. I used to be a little, I feel guilty for saying this, but not anymore, really, is I used to even feel ashamed of where I came from. And I used to feel just like you. And I've had people tell me, like, oh, yeah, you're from here, or you're not even from here. You can only get this far. You can only have this, glass ceiling until this point. But
Mm-hmm.
no, we are so much more powerful and really in control when, there's a society wants to make us believe that we're a certain way, but we have such control over how we end up, really how we end up, whether you come from privilege, whether you come from scarcity, we can all fall victim to a negative mindset or money blocks or any type of blocks, really. And that's not really your fault. It's not none of our fault, but you can change that. You can manifest whatever goal you want, and you can really become as financially free as you want to be. I think that's the most important thing that I would like to leave you with the person that I was before, and that's really what I teach.
Wow. I just think it's so amazing to, you watch people on social media and you watch them from far, but again, for the millionth time this episode, like, we spent an amount of time together at work, and then we had a social life together. And I think it's so great to just even see it. Like, I don't even know mentally half of the things that you could have possibly come up with and changed in your life, but just to see the visual difference in you and how you carry yourself and how you speak, I think it's so amazing. And I hope the listeners of this episode can really get that you have the choice to change. Like, it could be a situation where you're like, well, I've never worked out this much in my life, and I don't know where to start, and all these other things. And I think the point, especially when it comes to money, when it comes to your mindset, is to just get started. And because it's on you. However we want to face it, no matter where you came from, what your upbringing was, where you currently are, it ultimately, the cards are in your hands. And, honestly, Cindy, with that, I want to say thank you so much for meeting with me today. I hope that we can grab coffee very soon. Things are, they're opening up and they're doing what they do. So I do hope that we can grab coffee in the future and we can really sit down and catch up, because I loved our conversation today and us, like, really catching up.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. Let's make it happen.
Yay. Yeah, I'm so excited.
For real. Oh my God,
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Pam. You're the best.
Thank you for coming.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.